this is in my scrapbook. This is in my scrapbook. This is my Art Attack Scrapbook. Good to see you again, and welcome once again to my Art Attack Scrapbook. Hey, do you have a scrapbook of your own? Well, they're absolutely perfect, you know, for keeping your old artwork. And here's something else that's absolutely brilliant for storing your pictures, your messages, even your photographs. A big mouth notice board. Try this. Cut 2 big pieces of cardboard from the sides of a big cardboard box, and then draw a big mouth on one of the pieces. Now the mouth has to be open and it has to have rather large, juicy lips. Something a bit like that. And then cut out the lips so that you have something that looks like that. Then place your lips down on the other piece and go around the outside of your lips, again with a felt tip pen, just going all the way around. And then, when you've done that, cut that out, and you will have something that looks like that. And that is the backing card for your lips. And then just put the 2 pieces together like that and draw the inside of the mouth. Now, you've got that dangly bit down the back of your mouth. You've also got the tongue, like that. But whatever you do, don't draw the teeth. Then paint it in poster paint. Black for the inside of the mouth, pink for the tongue, and a nice bright cherry red for the lips. But before you paint the lips red, take some white poster paint and just paint 2 very rough white rectangles on the bottom lips. Again, doesn't have to be neat, something like that. And when you paint the red on the lips around those white bits, you get something that looks like that. And you've got those 2 sorts of shiny highlights on the lips that make them look nice and thick and juicy. And you can also paint in the cracks on the lips with a felt tip pen or darker paint. Then when you've painted your mouth, just take some glue, any type of glue you like, but I'm going to use PVA school glue here, and just paint a strip around the edge of your backing board, all the way around the edge, but no wider than 2 centimetres. So it just needs to go on the edge, 2 centimetres wide. And I'm just going to do this strip here to show you, but you do it all the way around your backing board. And when you've got all the way around, press your lips back into place. Press very firmly, again, all the way round. Glue the lips into place, thumping them down. Leave them to dry overnight. You might need to put some books on top of it to make it stick. And when it's dry, it would look something like that. And then it's just simply a case of slotting in your photographs and your letters under the lips and your notices. And there you have a big mouth notice board complete with paper teeth. And then hang it up in your bedroom or wherever you keep your notice board. And of course, there are different types of designs that you could try. What about the old hippopotamus, complete with rolled up paper teeth? Or even this, the shark attack notice board. And again, I've just tucked my photographs and my postcards and my little notelets in the mouth to create the shark's teeth. And the good thing about these notice boards, there's not a pin in sight. Try it yourself, a big mouth notice board. You know, just taking a look through my scrapbook, over the years, we've come up with many different ways of decorating your artwork. You know, fancy frames, fancy borders. And one of my favourites, and probably the most expensive one of all, cost 3p. Have a look at this. Just take a 2p coin and place it in the four corners of your work and just very roughly go around it with a pencil. Now, the reason I'm using pencil here is because you can rub the pencil out later on. This is just a guide to start with. There it is, you've got like 4 circles at the corners of your work. Then take a 1p coin and draw smaller circles between those bigger circles. And again, I'm just doing it very rough here as a guide. And it's a good idea to leave a gap of about, well, at least 1 centimetre between each of your circles. You'll see why in a minute. And I often use pencil like this just to mark things in. It's always a good idea if you're doing a pen drawing, because you can rub the pencil out a little later on. I'm just doing this as a guide to start with. I'm doing 3 circles along the top between my corners and 4 circles up or down the side. And there it is. And again, it doesn't have to be accurate. And you can see what's happening here. It's starting to build up a border. Then if I take a green felt tip pen and just go around these 4 corner circles, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You'll see why in a minute. And then watch this. If you start at the top of one of your corner circles and draw a line down to the bottom of the next circle and go around and then leave a gap. Very important that. I'll do that again. Top, bottom, gap. And it's a sort of rhythm really, isn't it? Top, bottom, gap, and then back to the corner. Now when you get to the corner, turn it like that on its side and go along one of the sides. So you start at the top again, bottom, gap, and you keep going with the same rhythm all the way round again till you reach the other corner, and then turn it upside down, and again, top, bottom, gap, all the way round. And then finally, when you get to your last side, it comes together. Watch this. Top, bottom, gap, top, bottom, gap. And just do the last one slowly to remind you. Top, line to the bottom, around you go, and leave a gap. And there it is. You've sort of created a fancy border around your work. Now you can stop there and rub the pencil out, or you can just add some dots either side of your lines like that, and you start to build up what looks like a vine leaf border. And you could even put in some coloured dots between your leaves, like that. And then, when you've finished it, it looks something like this. It's a sort of floral border. Yeah, and you can use those borders to jazz up your work, your drawings, and your writing, or just do it for fun. And you can even experiment with different size gaps between your circles. Look at that. And what about using lots of different colours? Go on, try it yourself. A fancy border. You know, I was looking through my scrapbook the other day and I noticed that some art attacks that we do are very neat and perfect and look brilliant, and yet other things that we make are very rough and scrappy, and yet they too create a great effect. There are also lots of art attacks in here that look very old, such as this one. Now you need to draw a fish onto some cardboard and cut it out. So you've got a shape that looks something like that. Then cut the tail off, cut the head off, and you're left with the body. Then the idea is to snip slots in the body all the way along, just going 3/4 of the way up. Now a quick tip, if you have trouble cutting cardboard, then soak it in water first. That's it, just being careful of my fingers there, and creating a sort of comb effect. Now when you've done that, just turn it round and bend these prongs first one way, then the other. One way, the other, alternating them all the way along. But slowly but surely, you create a fish skeleton. Then take the head, bend that as well, like that, in the front, and then the tail, bend that over and put that at the back. Doesn't matter if you rip it. Now, you know what happens to bones throughout the years? Well, they crumble. So I'm just going to crunch them up a little bit. And again, it doesn't matter if it tears, just crunch it up. It all adds to the effect. Now, you know the way fossils are made? Layer upon layer of sand, soil and rubble build up on top of a skeleton. Well, this fossil is made with layer upon layer of toilet paper. Now, I've got some PVA glue here. I've mixed it half and half with water. This is the squidgy bottle glue. It's actually school glue, isn't it? I'm just going to slop it on there, slop it all over the skeleton. Now, you don't need to stick the skeleton down to the board, because what happens is the toilet paper soaks in the glue and sticks the whole lot down, and you just paint the glue right across the top. You don't have to be neat. Now, the idea is to completely cover it with 3 or 4 layers of toilet paper, and when you've done that, it will look something like this. There it is. And while it's still wet, you don't wait for it to dry. You take some sand and you literally sprinkle the sand all over your skeleton. That's it, just cover the whole lot. If you haven't got any sand, you could, of course, use some yellow powder paint. If you haven't got any yellow powder paint, see if you can borrow some flour from the kitchen. You could paint it yellow afterwards. There it is, completely covered. Then let that set for about 2 minutes, but no longer than that. Otherwise, all the sand soaks the glue up and it all falls apart. So after about 2 minutes, you're left with something that looks like that, and it's just a case of shaking off all the excess sand, and there you have a fossilised fish. Now, of course, you don't have to do a fish. You could always leave the tail off, make the body a bit longer, and do a fossilised snake. Or what about this? Make the head a bit bigger with a bit more detail and do a fossilised dinosaur. Or even this, draw around your hand onto some card, bend it a bit and do a fossilised human hand. Try it yourself and make some ancient fossils. Now, just before I put my sand away, there's another way you can use it to make an art attack. You could draw or write something first in glue. Now, I'm just using PVA glue here, you know, the ordinary school glue you get in the white squidgy bottles. And when you've done your picture or your writing, just simply sprinkle your sand all over the glue picture. Just cover the whole thing like that, and then just pause a moment for it to sink in. And then simply shake it off like that, and there is your picture. In fact, there's lots of powdery stuff like sand you can make pictures with. Try glitter, or even flour. Or what about this? Sawdust. Well, that's it for my Art Attack scrapbook. And do you know what? I've really enjoyed looking through it with you. So why don't you make one yourself and keep all your stuff in it? And tell you something, it's great to look back on and see some of the crazy ideas that you come up with. Here's some more of mine, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra! You line up your shot and splat attack! You can even try it with 2 colours. Splat attack! Splat attack! Launch the paint.